When working in Google Docs, have you ever found a time when you would like to refer the reader of your document to another document or perhaps even a website? Well, you can do that by using links, hyperlinks, and/or bookmarks. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the Consumer Technology Specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library. And let's look at how we can kind of avoid reinventing the wheel by using links, bookmarks, and hyperlinks. I have opened a new blank document in Google Docs. Let's say that I would like to add in a link to Mid-Continent Public Library's homepage. And to do that, I also want to be sure that people can see that address, that they don't have to really look hard to see it. So what I can do is say something like this. And then when I type in the address, I'm going to type in www.mymcpl.org and press enter. Now, as soon as I press enter, notice that mymcpl.org becomes blue and it has an underline, which means that this is a link. Well, then let me take my mouse, and you'll notice that it really doesn't change a whole lot until I click on that link, the www.mymcpl.org, and it brings up a little kind of dialog box. First of all, it has the name of where that web page is, and my mouse becomes a hand with kind of a little pointy finger there. Now, to the right of that, though, I see that I could copy this link, so I could paste it someplace else. To the right of that, I can edit the link if I need to do that. Or to the right of that, I can remove the link. Just by looking at this link and clicking on it, I get at least 4 options that I need to consider before I click. Well, in this case, I'm just going to click on Mid-Continent Public Library, and it takes me to the home page of the Mid-Continent Public Library. Very easy, isn't it? I've added a title to this document, which happens to be Mid-Continent Public Library. But before we go any further, I would like to point out that although some other programs will change the color of the link once you have visited that link, in this case, Docs did not change from that blue color. So something to keep in mind. Now, that was a link because the path is still visible. But what if I want to use text to kind of hide that path, that URL? Well, let's just select Mid-Continent Public Library here. And this time, let's look at our options for adding in a link. And we have several. One is we can go to the toolbar, and it's kind of above the 4 inches on my ruler here. There is a link, and it says Insert Link. It also tells me that I could use Control-K to do the same thing. So let's do that. Let's insert a link. And it says, well, I can search or paste a link. And it even gives me some of the places that I have visited recently. And down at the bottom, it says, well, I could also use headings and bookmarks within my document. In this case, I'm just going to simply type an address that I know. So I'm going to type www.mymcpl.org and press enter. It has turned blue, it has an underline, and I don't get the pointy finger until I click on somewhere in that word or in that phrase. Then I can see the link and the other options here, and I can click on Mid-Continent Public Library, and I'm back at the home page. I've now added another sentence to our very short document here, and this time what I would like to do is link to our YouTube channel. So how could I do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to select some text. Great help seems like a nice way to let people have room to click. And then we're going to go up to the menu bar, this time to the fourth choice, Insert. And we need to scroll quite a ways down here to find Link. And that takes us to exactly the same dialog box that we've seen before. This time I know the URL of our channel, so I'm going to type www.youtube.com/MCPLMO. And then on the right, I'm going to click Apply. Now I'm going to go to Great Help, which is turned blue and underlined, and I get the path, the URL of where I want to go, and I'm going to click on that, and it takes me to Mid-Continent Public Library, and it even says Mid-Continent Public Library at MCPL-MO, and this is our YouTube channel. Let's look at another example or two of how we can add in a hyperlink. So I'm going to select the word example by simply double-clicking, and then I could right-click on it, and about halfway down this shortcut menu, I have Insert Link that we could use, or I keep seeing this idea that maybe we should use Control K. So let's do that. Let's go back to example, double click, and this time on my keyboard I'm going to use Control K. And it brings up exactly the same dialog box that we had before. This time I'm just going to go back to the MCPL home page. So let's type www.mymcpl.org. And when we click on another example, we get the link or the three options, and it takes us to our home page. Even though I am using Google Docs and most of my documents are in Google Docs or in that particular folder, I might decide that I want to find a file that is on my desktop. That is not easily found in my browser, so what do I need to do? Well, I can go to my desktop. I'm just going to minimize here a second and find the document on my desktop that I want to link to. And then I'm going to right-click on that document, and in the shortcut menu, I can copy the link. So I'm going to click on Copy Link. And I get a small box that says, here's the link to this document. And do I want to copy it? Absolutely. And then I can even change the viewing rights. So I can say anyone can look at it. People who receive an email can get it. But I'm just going to go with, I'm going to share with anyone and apply that. And then on the right, I'm going to click on this copy button. And then I can go back to Docs and create my hyperlink. So I'm going to just select Desktop and Control K. And then I can paste in my link with a Control V. And notice how it's all in there very nicely, and then click on Apply. Ooh, so now I have my blue text. I'm going to click on it, click on the link, and it's going to take a little while, but it opens Word, and it gives me the contents of that Word document that was on my desktop. Sometimes when you need to add in the URL for a website, you don't always just know what that path is. And so let's say that I don't know what the URL of a particular website is, but I know that I want to add it as a hyperlink. I'm going to go to, in this time, just above the 4 on the ruler, I'm going to click Insert Link. And what I'm going to do from here is where it says search or paste a link, it's going to be a little hard for me to search for a URL unless I go to a different tab on my browser. So I'm going to go to a different tab on my browser where, in fact, I have gone to our particular channel on YouTube, MCPL MO, and then I've gone to the playlists, and as I scroll down in the playlists, I found over here on the right Google Docs Basics. And below the thumbnail, I click on View Full Playlist. And when I do that, I can see that, first of all, there are 21 videos with, of course, more being added all the time. But if I go to the address bar where it starts with youtube.com and then playlist, I can click to the right of what looks like just a bunch of random letters and numbers, and I can press Control C. Now from there, I can go back to my document, and then I can paste in, using Control V, that URL from that playlist, and then click Apply. So now URL of the website is in blue, it's underlined. I click on that, and I click on the link, and here we are right back at Google Docs Basics playlist. Besides knowing the address of a page or copying the path of a particular file, there are a couple of other ways that we need to look at when we want to create a hyperlink. And so let's just grab some text, and I'm maybe going to type in, this is an example. And then we'll just select the word example. Oops, let's put in is. And then let's select example, and I'm going to use Control K. And besides searching or pasting a link, we can also come down to headings and bookmarks. So when I click on that arrow, it says you have some headings. You have Section 1, heading style, and Section 2, heading style. Well, we can even see just right below that box that I've added in some example text, and sure enough, it says Section 1, and it certainly is using heading style 1. Well, then we also have a Section 2. You know what, I'm curious. Let's just select Section 2. Now, this is an example. Let's click on it. Let's click then on what it is showing below, which is Section 2 heading style. Click on it, and it takes us to that part of our document. So, in fact, that is a type of a bookmark where, just like with a book where you open to a page, you put in a bookmark, you close the book, you put it aside, and when you come back, you say, ooh, I want to go back to that place. That is what we are doing here, except we are using styles to be able to do that. Now, with a really large document, this is such a time saver. Instead of scrolling through 25 pages to find where that section is, you simply set up a link to that heading styled text and go directly there. So it's kind of like a table of contents even, but it's the same kind of idea where we just click and get where we want to go. We also had bookmarks. So let's talk about bookmarks. Now, generally you have links at the top, and then you have bookmarks kind of toward the bottom of your document, because the bookmarks are where you're going to go, but you link to the bookmarks. So let's go down to this last paragraph, and I'm just going to select some of those words, but we need to make this a bookmark. So we will insert, and we need to come down a bit here. even below link to the next to the last choice, which is bookmark. And we can either bookmark it, we can copy the link, or we can remove it. So we're going to say bookmark. And you can see that over to the left, I now have a little icon that kind of looks like a bookmark. Now let me go back up to the top. And maybe even in this heading style section 1 thing, and find some text. And I say, I would like to link to that bookmark. Well, I'm going to just Control K. And I'm going to scroll down just a bit so I can get to the bottom of that box where it says Headings and Bookmarks. Click the arrow, and now it has a bookmark. So I'll click on that. And I now have that link to the bookmark. So when I click on it, it takes me directly to where I have set up the bookmark. Ooh, let's do another one. Let's see. Let's make this my bookmark, my destination. And to do that, I definitely need to go to Insert because I have to go all the way down to the bottom of that list to bookmark. And it adds in that little icon that says that this is bookmarked. Then we can go to someplace else where we would link to our bookmark. Let's just make it here in this third paragraph. And we can right-click and insert a link. And we're going to go back to Bookmarks and find that second one because they all look so familiar. I'm going to click on that. Now, when I click on my words, I can go to the bookmark and it takes me down to those words I selected for my second bookmark. So I think you can see how easy it is to set up a reference in one part of your document that then takes people to another part of the document if they need to skip what's in between or they want to refer to, say, an appendix or whatever it is that makes their reading more valuable and easier. Another thing that we can do is add a hyperlink to a picture so people can just click on the picture, the image, and it will take them to another document or a website. So first of all, I need to click on the image here, and then I think I'm going to just use Control K. Now, the website that I'm going to take them to is the kids part of the Mid-Continent Public Library website. So I've already copied it and I'm just going to paste it in. It's mymcpl.org/kids, and I'm going to apply that. When I rest my mouse on top of it, it doesn't really look like anything has changed, but when I click on that, and I need to scroll down just a bit, I can even see an image from that web page. So I'm going to click on Grow a Reader, and it takes me to the Kids tab, and we can even see here on the right, the Kids tab of the Mid-Continent Public Library. So it is very easy to even incorporate images in your document that then will link to someplace else. As you work with links, hyperlinks, and bookmarks, there is something that you may need to consider, and that is, do the people who are going to be using and reading your document, do they have rights not only to the document, but to the links and hyperlinks where you are sending them? It could very well be that you're sharing a document with them and they can read it just fine, but when they click on that hyperlink, be sure that they have permission to also see that other document. And so that is links, hyperlinks, and bookmarks in Google Docs. To learn even more, be sure to go to mymcpl.org/online learning for such great resources as Universal Class, LinkedIn Learning, Learning Express Library, and Udemy Business. We also premiere new videos every Wednesday and Friday at 1 o'clock. If you miss a video premiere, you'll still be able to find it later when it's convenient for you. You can find us on Facebook at MCPL 360, and you can find us on YouTube by going to our MCPL MO channel.